Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into one of the most pivotal and dramatic events in human history, the Fall of Constantinople. For centuries, this magnificent city stood as the impenetrable heart of the Byzantine Empire, a beacon of civilization and a fortress defying all odds. Yet in 1453, its seemingly unshakable rule crumbled under a new, relentless force. Join me as we explore how the rule of Constantinople fell, not just as a historical event, but as a story of ambition, innovation, and the end of an era. The Sentinel of the East, a city on the brink. Constantinople was not merely a city, it was a legend. Founded by Roman Emperor Constantine the Great, it was strategically located at the crossroads of Europe and Asia, controlling the vital trade routes between the Black Sea and the Mediterranean. Its defenses, particularly the massive Theodosian walls, were the most sophisticated of the ancient world, successfully repelling countless invaders over 1,000 years. However, by the mid-15th century, the Byzantine Empire was a shadow of its former self. Internal conflicts, economic decline, and the fragmentation of its territories had left Constantinople isolated. The once mighty empire had shrunk to little more than the city itself, and a few scattered territories. The population was dwindling, and the city's treasury was nearly empty. Despite its glorious past, Constantinople in 1453 was a ripe target, defended by a skeleton crew and facing an existential threat from the rapidly expanding Ottoman Empire. The Sultan's ambition, Mehmed II, and the prophecy. The catalyst for the city's downfall was Sultan Mehmed II, a remarkable and ambitious young ruler who ascended to the Ottoman throne in 1451. Mehmed, later known as the Conqueror al-Fadi, was driven by a powerful vision to fulfill Islamic prophecies regarding the conquest of Constantinople and to consolidate Ottoman power by seizing control of this strategic stronghold. Mehmed's rise to power signaled a new level of determination. Unlike his predecessors, who had attempted sieges and failed, Mehmed was methodical, focused, and willing to employ radical tactics. He understood that to take Constantinople, he needed more than just numbers. He needed overwhelming technological superiority and a strategy that could neutralize the city's defenses. The preparations, building the war machine. Mehmed's preparations for the siege were unprecedented in scope and execution. He did not rush into battle. He meticulously planned every aspect of the campaign, focusing on two critical areas: logistics and firepower. The construction of Ramilai Hizari. One of Mehmed's first strategic moves was the construction of the fortress of Ramilai Hizari on the European side of the Bosphorus, directly across from the existing Ottoman fortress of Anadolu Hizari. This move effectively completed the Ottoman blockade of the Bosphorus Strait, cutting off Constantinople's access to the Black Sea and any potential supplies or reinforcement from friendly territories. The Age of Cannons, Urban's masterpiece. The most revolutionary element of Mehmed's arsenal was his artillery. Recognizing that the ancient walls of Constantinople could withstand traditional siege weapons, Mehmed hired a Hungarian engineer named Urban to create colossal cannons. Urban's masterpiece, known as the Basilica, was a monstrous cannon capable of firing stone balls weighing over 600 pounds. Transporting these cannons to the walls was a monumental task, requiring hundreds of men and oxen. These superguns were a game-changer, capable of breaching defenses that had stood for centuries. The Ottoman Navy. Mehmed also built a formidable navy of over 100 ships. While the Byzantine navy was negligible, the Ottomans had to contend with the Genoese naval support protecting the city and the critical waterway, known as the Golden Horn. The Byzantine defense, courage against overwhelming odds. Against this rising tide of Ottoman ambition stood Emperor Constantine XI Palaiologos, a man who, despite the dwindling resources of his empire, chose to fight to the very end. Constantine's forces were woefully outnumbered. He commanded perhaps 7,000 to 10,000 defenders, including Byzantine soldiers, Venetian and Genoese mercenaries, and a small contingent of volunteers. In contrast, Sultan Mehmed II arrived with an army estimated between 80,000 and 100,000 troops, supported by his massive cannons and fleet. Despite the desperate situation, the defenders fought with extraordinary bravery. Constantine XI rallied his troops, and the city's inhabitants prepared for the worst, knowing that the defense of Constantinople was also the defense of their civilization. The siege and the genius of Mehmed. April 6th to May 29th, 1453. The siege began on April 6th, 1453. The initial Ottoman assault focused on the Theodosian walls, where the colossal cannons began their relentless bombardment. The sound of the basilica's firing echoed across the city, shattering the morale of the defenders as much as they shattered the stone walls. The Golden Horn strategy. One of the most defining aspects of the siege was the naval confrontation in the Golden Horn. The Byzantines had secured the harbor with a massive chain, preventing the Ottoman fleet from entering and attacking the city's harbor walls. Mehmed II, however, executed a military maneuver that stunned the defenders and the world. He ordered his ships to be transported overland, bypassing the chain. Utilizing a path of lubricated logs, the Ottoman engineers and soldiers dragged the ships several miles across a hill and into the Golden Horn. This incredible feat of logistics and engineering allowed the Ottoman fleet to attack the city from a previously secure flank, forcing the Byzantines to divert precious resources to defend their harbor walls. The War of Attrition. The siege became a brutal war of attrition. The cannons pounded the walls continuously, creating breaches that the defenders struggled to repair overnight. Ottoman engineers also attempted to undermine the walls through tunnels, though the Byzantines countered this with their own subterranean warfare. Inside the city, morale was slowly eroding. Supplies dwindled, and the defenders were exhausted. Despite a few successful counterattacks, including the temporary repulse of the Ottoman fleet, the relentless pressure of Mehmed's army was taking its toll. The final assault, the fall of the empire. By May 29th, 1453, Mehmed determined it was time for the final decisive assault. He ordered his forces to launch a three-pronged attack designed to overwhelm the exhausted defenders. The attack was structured in waves. First, the less experienced Başıbozuk regulars were sent to tire the defenders. Next came the regular Anatolian troops. And finally, the elite Janissaries, the Sultan's highly trained shock troops, delivered the crushing blow. The fighting was savage and bloody. The defenders, led by Constantine XI, fought with a desperate bravery. However, the sheer weight of the Ottoman numbers began to overwhelm them. The Kirkaporta Gate and the last stand. A crucial moment occurred at a small, often overlooked gate known as the Kirkaporta. It is widely believed that this gate was accidentally left unlatched. A small group of Ottoman soldiers entered the city through it, raising the Ottoman flag on the walls. Upon seeing the flag, panic spread among the defenders. Emperor Constantine XI, understanding that all was lost, is said to have discarded his imperial regalia and led a charge into the fray, fighting alongside his men until he was killed. The city fell. Sultan Mehmed II entered Constantinople in triumph. The aftermath, a new era begins. The fall of Constantinople was a seismic event that reshaped the geopolitical landscape. It marked the definitive end of the Byzantine Empire and the Roman Empire as a whole. Sultan Mehmed II, now the undisputed master of the city, renamed it Istanbul and made it the new capital of the Ottoman Empire. The impact of the fall rippled across Europe and Asia. A shift in power. The Ottomans now controlled the key trade routes between Europe and Asia. The Renaissance. Many Byzantine scholars fled Constantinople, bringing valuable Greek texts and knowledge to Western Europe. This influx of knowledge played a crucial role in fueling the European Renaissance. The Age of Exploration. The Ottoman control of the eastern trade routes motivated European powers to seek new maritime routes to Asia, leading to the Age of Exploration and the voyages of Christopher Columbus and Vasco da Gama. The fall of Constantinople was more than just a military victory. It was the symbolic transition from the medieval world to the early modern period, a testament to Mehmed II's ambition and a haunting reminder of the fragility of empires. It is a story of how a seemingly invincible power, weakened by time, finally succumbed to a force that was both strategically brilliant and relentlessly determined.